Venezuela, indigenous communities are voting representatives to their 69 municipal councils. In the United States, the mega fire Dragon Bravo rages in Arizona, causing fire clouds to form for at least 7 consecutive days. Conflict Monitoring Group Action and Armed Violence says 9 out of 10 Israeli military investigations into war crimes in Gaza have been closed without finding fault or left without resolution. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from teleSUR Studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Sunday in Venezuela, indigenous communities are voting representatives to their 69 municipal councils. According to the National Electoral Council, polling stations opened at 7 a.m. local time in 8 states across the country. At least 6,367 indigenous people are registered voters. In Venezuela, the indigenous people make up approximately 2.8% of the total population. The results of this August 3rd indigenous elections will be announced in all 6 municipalities next Monday. On Saturday, the President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, created a commission attached to her office with the mission of developing an electoral reform initiative that includes changes related to popular representation and citizen participation mechanisms. One of the commission's primary tasks will be to conduct an in-depth assessment of the current state of the electoral and party model. To lead the initiative, the President appointed Pablo Gomez, current head of the Financial Intelligence Unit, who also serves as advisor to the National Electoral Institute. President Sheinbaum, who is entering her 10th month in office with an approval rating of over 64%, will announce the names of the other commissioners throughout the week. In Chile, the remains of one of the 5 workers who disappeared in the El Teniente mine have been found, while the search for the others continues. The disaster occurred last Thursday in a mine located in the O'Higgins region. Authorities stated that despite the discovery, the search efforts continue without rest and the identification tasks were left in the hands of the Public Prosecutor's Office. Emergency teams affirmed that they will continue their efforts to locate the 4 miners who remain missing. In 2024 alone, there were 11 fatalities in the Chilean mining sector, and the memory of the 33 miners of San Jose who survived 69 days under the rubble until they were finally rescued remains alive. Former Colombian President Álvaro Uribe was sentenced to 12 years of imprisonment and house arrest for the crimes of procedural fraud and bribery in criminal proceedings. More details in the report by our colleague Hernán Torvar.
This was the scene outside the court complex before the decision of Criminal Judge 44 regarding the sentence against former President Uribe was announced. Not only did supporters of the convicted man arrive here, but also the victims of paramilitary violence and drug trafficking during the Uribe administration, who praised the position taken by both the judge and the prosecutor during this trial.
In a very dark tunnel left behind by drug trafficking, injustice, and impunity, today 2 women, Prosecutor Marlene Orjula and Judge Sandra Liliana Heredia, demonstrated the dignity of justice.
Demostraron la dignidad que tiene la justicia. En el piso cuarto, al interior de esta sede judicial,
on the 4th floor inside this court building at 2 p.m., the sentencing hearing began with a warning from the judge regarding the leak by one of the sons of the former president and some media outlets about the amount of the sentence, breaking the commitment to keep it confidential before its public reading.
I understand that some of the children of the defendant who did not have the courage to come and accompany him here when he appeared in court
los medios de comunicación y todo.
did have the courage to make public statements against the undersigned through the media.
I strongly protest for the treatment of my children.
Superado este impasse, la juez procedió a
Once this impasse was overcome, the judge proceeded to argue the basis for her decision in a series of evidences that were sufficient to disprove any presumption of innocence in the first instance.
Condenar a Álvaro Uribe Vélez, identificado con cédula de ciudadanía.
I sentence Uribe to the principal penalty of 144 months in prison, or in other words, 12 years in prison, a fine equivalent to 2,400 minimum legal wages under current legislation, and disqualification from exercising public rights and functions, as the main penalty of 100 months and 20 days, as the person criminally responsible for the crimes of procedural fraud and bribery in criminal proceedings.
Esta determinación representa un hito judicial e inédito para
This
Colombia.
decision represents an unprecedented legal milestone for Colombia, given that it involves a right-wing political figure such as the Uribe, who was president between 2002 and 2010, who claimed that this ruling is political in nature. However, the victims' lawyers reiterated that no one is above the law.
Insistentemente, el hoy condenado en primera instancia
Uribe, who was convicted in the first instance,
ha procedido a desatar la
has insistently unleashed the most fierce persecution against the
contra
judiciary.
el Poder Judicial cada vez que
Every
un
time a judge, prosecutor, magistrate, lawyer, or victim dares to ask for clarification of his numerous criminal
ha
actions,
osado pedir que se esclarezcan sus numerosas actuaciones criminales.
Tanto el sentenciado y condenado como su defensa
Both the
solicitaron
defendant and his defense team requested that the judge grant them a 10-day extension to file the appeal, when initially it was 5 days. This appeal will be filed with the Court of Bogota, which will review the ruling in the second instance. They must ruling before October 16th, when the criminal action against Uribe will be prescribed.
penal en contra de Álvaro Uribe Vélez. Hernán Darío Tobar Gaitán, teleSUR, Bogotá, Colombia.
And now we have a short break coming up. But first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In the United States, the mega fire Dragon Bravo rages in the state of Arizona, causing fire clouds to form for at least 7 consecutive days. The Dragon Bravo fire broke out on July 4th when a lightning struck at Grand Canyon National Park. According to the National Interagency Fire Center, it is the largest active fire in the 48 contiguous states of the country. What started as an isolated spark turned into a massive force that has destroyed more than 45,000 hectares and continues to spread out of control, which has turned this phenomena into a mega fire. Dragon Bravo is considered the largest fire in the Grand Canyon National Park area since 1984. In Spain, political parties asked the Spanish prosecutor's office to investigate the neo-Nazi group Deport Them Now for racist acts in Catalonia, also to determine its links to the far-right party Vox. Let's look at the details with our correspondent Andrés Flores.
Deport them now, deportarlos ahora.
Deport Them Now is the name of one of the groups that participated and organized a hunt for migrants in Tor Pacheco, Spain. Its leader has been arrested in the province of Barcelona.
these groups have been operating for a very long time in the area of evictions. We have seen them at the doors of houses, knocking, threatening families. These groups should have been banned a long time ago, but progressives and left-wing parties have considered them to be part of the democratic specter, which is really our concern today. They have all the institutional legitimacy that protects the impunity for these terrorist crimes that are being committed at this moment in many localities.
Los comunes pidieron a la
The
fiscalía
Commons asked the prosecutor's office to investigate the group for racist acts and its links to Vox. One of the driving forces behind the initiative is parliamentarian Andrés Garcia.
Over the last few months, we have been witnessing an upflow of activity by far-right groups in Spain and in Catalonia in particular. This is linked to the hate speech and incitement to hatred practiced by far-right political parties such as Vox or Alianza Catalana here in Catalonia.
Expert activists point out that in many cases these groups operating on Telegram are the executors of policies designed by the far right.
This person, arrested for participating in this far-right group, was calmly talking to one of the councillors from Vox from his far-right group, and what's more, the Vox banner was at the head of the demonstration. What we are telling the prosecutor's office is that it must protect the citizens of Spain and Catalonia. Because we are facing one of the major collective risks that all of Europe is currently facing, which is this type of attack against entire groups, systematic racist attacks.
Dardo
is a journalist specializing in the far right. He proposes that the justice system investigate the economic and social network links between these groups and Vox.
The issue is also who finances the European far right, because large international monopolies have an interest in this happening. They are very active on social media, especially because social media in general is very suitable for the far right's rhetoric, which is based on lies.
The
leader of the extremist group remains in pre-trial detention. In his court appearance, he claimed to have acted alone, but in the messages in which he called for the hunt, he uses the first-person plural, which could indicate that he did not act alone.
Andrés Flores, teleSUR, Barcelona.
In China, the torch for the 15th National Games and 12th National Paralympic Games, along with the 9th National Special Olympics, was officially unveiled on Saturday. Named Blossom, the torch's design embodies the shared Lingnan cultural heritage of Guangdong, Hong Kong and Macau, symbolizing the three regions as one family. Heje, lead designer for the torch, explained that the core design philosophy of Blossom is fusion and glory, representing exchange and integration and shared prosperity. From a top-down view, the torch flame nozzle forms the wave-like shape of the game's emblem, with the Guangdong, Kapok, Hong Kong, Baohina and Macau lotus flowers intertwined, representing the innovative spirit of the Greater Bay Area. In other news, for years, Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev has carefully cultivated the image of being Moscow's ally. However, his recent actions, from incendiary statements to military movements in the Caspian Sea, revealed a strategic calculation that has left many in the world perplexed.
Relations between Russia and Azerbaijan have reached their most critical point in history since the fall of the Soviet Union. Azerbaijan, which has traditionally tried to balance its relations with Russia with the interests of the West, and Turkey, is increasingly taking an aggressive stance against Moscow.
According to the information we have, the Ukrainian security service plans to use the current Russian-Azerbaijani contradictions to foment hatred and enmity by using nationalism. We are aware of plans to use Russian dirts, people willing to carry out sabotage under the Russian flag in exchange for a reward, targeting Azerbaijani citizens, representations, and cultural objects. The idea is that, if such provocations are successful, viral information about an alleged Russian aggression will be spread in the Azerbaijani, Turkish, and European media.
The trigger for the current crisis was the tragedy of the Azerbaijan Airlines flight on December 25, 2024, for which Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev blamed Russia. His subsequent failure to attend the victory commemorations in Moscow, breaking previous agreements with several post-Soviet leaders, marked the beginning of the escalation. The provocations were not limited to rhetoric. They closed the Russian center in Baku, arrested Russian citizens, and, above all, publicly advised Zelensky to reject negotiations.
NATO has been in Azerbaijan for a long time. Great Britain has been there for a long time, starting with the 26 commissars of Baku. They are always doing their thing. And it's all very simple. While gas logistics corridors, the Baku-Ceyhan oil pipeline was built, a communication system without Russia was created, supplying energy carriers to Europe through Turkish territory.
El desmantelamiento del busto del célebre pintor Ayvazovsky.
The dismantling of the bust of the famous painter Ivazovsky, in a city in Nagorno-Karabakh, organized by the new authorities in the region, was in itself a provocative act. Under the pretext that Russian agencies used the Armenian name of the city, Baku made it clear that it was following Ukraine's lead, rejecting historical links to its Soviet past, by waging war on place names and monuments.
They say that everything is known when spring arrives. And we will remember the actions that Baku has taken against our citizens, companies, non-governmental organizations, against our journalists, our economic interests, against our geopolitical interests. We are not the only ones who live in the Caspian region. In addition to us, there is also Iran, which Azerbaijan has been spitting in the face for the last 6 months, just like it has been doing to us.
Las acciones de Bakú sugieren que su alianza con
Baku's actions suggest that its alliance with the West and Turkey is positioning it as the Ukraine of the Caucasus. The goal is to displace Russia from Transcaucasia, which is so important for joint international projects with Iran and China. In this process of breakdown that seems to be leading to war, every gesture by Baku is proof that one more country in the post-Soviet space wants to become a weapon in the West's war against Russia.
en un arma en la guerra de Occidente contra Rusia. Oleg Yasinski, TeleSUR, Moscú.
And we have a second show break coming up. Before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. On a show break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Conflict Monitoring Group Action on Armed Violence says nearly 9 out of 10 Israeli military investigations into war crimes or abuses by its soldiers since the start of the war in Gaza Strip have been closed without finding fault or left without resolution. The monitoring group tracked 52 cases between October 2023 and the end of June 2025 in which the Israeli military said it had launched or would launch investigations into reports or civilian harm or other misconduct by its forces. These incidents account for the death of 1,303 Palestinians and injuries to at least 1,820 others, yet only one case has led to a conviction and prison time, while 5 others led only to dismissals or reprimands. The remaining 46 cases, or 88% of the total, show no accountability. 7 were closed without any findings of wrongdoing, while another 39 remain open or unresolved. Let's see more details on the matter. Among the unresolved investigations is the death of at least 112 Palestinians who were queuing up to receive flour in Gaza City in February 2024. Another case still pending justice is the Israeli airstrike on a tent camp in Rafah in May, where 45 people died in a massive fire. A third unresolved incident occurred on June 1st when Israeli forces opened fire on Palestinians trying to collect food aid in Rafah. 31 people died in this incident. All of these pending and unresolved cases have led researchers from the Conflict Monitoring Group Action Against Armed Violence to assert that the current system of distributing humanitarian aid is part of a broader strategy to avoid accountability, warning that Israel is not simply failing to investigate irregularities, but is closing cases involving more serious and public abuses committed by its forces. The Palestinian death toll from hunger and malnutrition has risen to 175 due to the blockade of Israeli-promoted humanitarian aid against the Gaza Strip. According to health organizations, at least 7 people have died in recent hours, which increases the food crisis in the Palestinian territories. In this regard, they warned that 20,000 children were hospitalized for acute malnutrition, while 300,000 children under 5 urgently need medical attention. In addition, they warned that despite the entry of some trucks of humanitarian aid airdrops, food needs in the Gaza Strip unmet. Meanwhile, social organizations held the President of the United States, Donald Trump, responsible for the famine that daily claims the lives of civilians in the Gaza Strip. At the same time, they rejected the humanitarian aid distribution centers created by Washington and Tel Aviv because they were a trap planned to murder thousands of Gazans. The Palestinian authorities denounced that since May 27th, more than 1,300 civilians were killed as a result of Zionist attacks on food delivery points. In Iraq, the International Al-Aqsa called conference held in the city of Karbala in support of the Palestinian people wrapped up Sunday. Religious, political and social leaders from several countries expressed their willingness to support the people on the Gaza Strip against the Israeli aggression. They also emphasized that it is a religious, moral and humanitarian duty to defend the thousands of Palestinian victims there. They also urged countries around the world to denounce international silence as flagrant complicity with genocide and to confront the Zionist siege and aggression. In Venezuela, the Rómulo Gallegos International Nobel Prize was awarded to Argentine writer Vicente Batista for his literary work, The Simulacrum of Mirrors. During the international award ceremony, the president of the Rómulo Gallegos Center for Latin American and Caribbean Studies, Pedro Calzadilla, led the ceremony, highlighting that the call for entries was flooded with 513 applications from writers who wished to participate and compete. It was also noted that the best response to the smear campaigns against the famous award is to highlight the high number and quality of novels submitted for recognition in this latest edition. For his part, the country's Minister of Culture, Ernesto Villegas, emphasized that the Rómulo Gallegos Award is a prize for books that emancipate the consciences of the world.
The simulacrum of mirrors, in the words of the jury that awarded the prize, is an inspirational work that creates a very particular oppressive atmosphere and reflects some of the main features that define contemporary society: the presence of invisible dictatorial powers, surveillance consented to by those being surveilled, the logic of the show permanently contaminated by politics and social life, the deluge of meaningless messages, spiritual emptiness, as well as the impossibility of protecting privacy from the morbid gaze of others.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram and TikTok as well. For Telesur English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.